الرحمن الرحيم وهو القهار الكريم وهو الوهاب المبين وهو رب العالمين ونستعين على أمور الدنيا والدين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, thank you for having me, and I appreciate you taking some time out of your schedules to come and listen to this small presentation. Anyways, we do things a little bit differently. We're talking about where is the love? Interesting, yeah? Where is the love? Could someone define for me what is love? Anybody? What is love? Oh, come on now.
Is it like when you have a caring for someone?
You have a caring for someone.
According to the Cambridge University Dictionary. No, I don't know.
You started out nice. Sister.
A deep affection.
A deep affection for someone. Caring, deep affection, Cambridge University.
It's all of those things, but then it goes deeper beyond words because it's like a longing from the heart.
A longing from the heart. Okay. All right. Anyone else? Give one more. Nothing? Nada?
One word, nearness.
Nearness. Okay, I wish I had a board to write this down. Okay, board. So we said caring, a deep affection, nearness, and what was one you gave?
Longing from the
A
heart.
longing from the heart. Okay, this is 4 definitions or outlooks or perspectives of what we consider love. Okay? Now, we're going to talk about this whole issue from the context of where you are. Okay? We're going to talk about the Islamic this and the Islamic that. We'll get to those things. But from the context of where you are, you're in the university. Okay? And so life is a little bit different on the university. How many of you still live at home? Okay, a few of you. The most of you, the majority of you live on the campus, yeah? Or around the campus. So we all know this is a bit different. Life is different. There's no mom watching over you, no dad watching over you. There's nobody that can kind of really restrict your movement, your action. If you wanted to, you could stay out till the sun rose. I remember when my mom dropped me off at university, I was screaming. She thought she was crying. You're leaving, my baby's leaving the house. And I was like, can you leave, please? I need to get on with my life. This is the beginning. It's time to start rolling. And I remember the first week, I stayed out until the sun rose. I remember the very first night, hanging out with some of my friends, and I started saying, what time is it? The guest house, 11:30. I said, oh, shoot, I got to get home. My mom's going to kill me. Then I started thinking, wait a minute. There is no mom. I'm on my own. I can do what I want to do. And so then at that point, I realized my life was going to be totally different because now I don't have anybody telling me what to do, how to do it, or how I need to be. It's all me now. I decide how I'm going to be. I decide my own rules and regulations. I decide how the quality of my life is going to be because nobody else is there. So, again, now for me, I was not Muslim. Okay? How many people here are not Muslim? If anyone? No? So everybody's Muslim. So my life was a bit different then from the majority because you had the principles of Islam and things you grew up with and so on and so forth. And you also have cultural aspects that you deal with. Me, Americans, as they say, we don't have a culture, right? So we just do what we want to do. And that's exactly how I was acting. That is our culture. We do what we want to do type of culture. So
Yeah, America does have a culture. It's called Burger King.
I would say McDonald's, not really Burger King. But nonetheless, so the point is that we've had a lot of different things that the way we attack things is a lot different. The way I attack things is a lot different. But now, you're in a situation where you have the opportunity to explore other genders. Before, you probably didn't have that opportunity. Now you have the opportunity to mix and mingle and There are other things you may have never thought about doing, you're doing. Some things you thought you wanted to do, you can now do. And some things that you always saw other people doing, now you're engaging in. And all different types of levels. Now that you're here by yourselves, under your own accord, there's a whole new paradigm that you have to think about. And some of you may be struggling. You know, there's something to do, and this is kind of what I want to do. This is kind of what I see everybody else doing. What do I do? We talk about where's the love. Well, we're going to go straight into it. This issue of your relationships. Mixing and stuff, we'll talk about that in a minute, but just the aspect of getting involved in a relationship. Okay? Now, in many cases, when you enter into a relationship, for many of you, and I'm going to talk to you hopefully for some of you from a cultural standpoint that I still don't really quite understand, but you definitely understand and can relate to. Many of you start a relationship that you know is going nowhere. Because for many of you, your relationship is really based upon what your parents tell you. Meaning, many of you are going to wind up getting married to somebody who's a part of your family, so you're going to either marry a cousin somewhere along the line, or you're going to marry somebody back home from your village. If that person from back home in the village happens to live here, then great for you. But if they don't, you got issues. I used to ask a lot of my friends, why is it that you choose to marry a woman from back home? Because a woman from back home doesn't have the education that you have, doesn't have the outlook that you have, doesn't have the perception. And he said, well, the reason why is because the women here want too much. But you guys should want the same things, don't you think? Because you're both educated, you both are growing, you both are, for what it's worth, you're British. Some people don't like me saying that, but it's the truth. You were born here, you were raised here, for the most part, you're British. So, don't you guys want some of the same things? Don't you guys want to develop in the same ways? Nah, you're not worried about that. You're worried about having that control and that power in the household. Instead of looking at trying to develop a team and growing up and developing together and trying to develop something more than what you have in the communities presently. And by the way, I didn't bring this guy. So I didn't know. He's not hired by me, take a bunch of shots so I can put him on my Facebook or whatever. But anyways, in all seriousness, you wind up getting into relationships on this campus and many other campuses that once you decide, we need to take this a step further and get married, that you've got to go meet mom and dad. And in many cases, not all, but in many cases, mom and dad are not having it. From either side, from the girl side or from the boy side, mom and dad aren't having it. So now you've entered a relationship and now your heart is broken because why? You can't be with the person that you have come to grow and love. So it's a waste of time, a waste of emotion, a waste of everything. And some of you, and especially some of the sisters, I've heard in this country, they'll probably just run off and get married in another neighboring town or whatever. And now you've got a bunch of problems because your brother is pissed because you broke the family lines and you did your own thing and he wants to beat up your new husband. You got an uncle or father who's mad, he wants to jack up the new husband. The husband won't come and see your family, and then when you have kids, he doesn't want the children going to see the grandparents because he's afraid of what they might do, say, or however the case may be. So that's a whole big problem. And if the boy marries a girl that his family didn't want him to marry, well then, there's a big problem there. The mom doesn't want her coming into her house and doesn't want her being in her kitchen, doesn't want to give her any of her food. And the grandmother is saying, I'm going to die because you did something that you really should have done. And a lot of these things happen. And, I had a friend of mine who had a really bad marriage, and I asked him, well, why don't you get divorced and marry who you want to marry? He said, oh, I can't do that. I said, why? He said, because there'll be a scandal in the community. So you're worried about scandal. All right, so scandal in the community. He told me, then we talked a little further, he said, no, my father had a heart attack. Because my brother did it. See, his brother tried to be slick. His parents made him marry his sister he didn't want to marry, so he married her. But the woman he fell in love with, he married her too. And so in the community, you can't have two wives. So the one that he married, that he was kind of forced into, she opted out. And so he got what he wanted, but then at the expense of his family's name and reputation, and the community was going all up and about, you know, spreading rumors and this, that, and the other, and it was everywhere in the community. And so as a result, this became a big issue. So the question is, you have to recognize, and the point I'm making is that you have to recognize where you are in terms of with your family members. So you're trying to get into these relationships, and I'm saying it very candidly because I know, I'm not saying anybody in this room, but we know people who get into these relationships, okay? And we know, I don't care if they're Muslim or not, we know people who get into relationships. Let's just be realistic. Okay, we're not gonna say and pretend like everybody's holier than thou. We know people who have had or are involved in right now with relationships as Muslims. And so being the case, I'm just saying, being realistic, you've already set yourself up for failure. In my mind, no Muslim, man or woman, should know that has never been married, should know what it feels like to have a broken heart due to the loss of a relationship. You should know what it feels like to have the person you thought you loved deceive you. You should know what it's like to be cheated on. That's something that no Muslim should know, period. Heck, even any practicing Christian for that matter. No one should really know this. Really should know it even after marriage, but it happens. But that's where it should happen. If it's going to happen, let it happen in marriage, not now. It really should never happen at this point in time. But there are people who do it. So the first reality of that situation is that you've already kind of set yourself up for failure. Because mom and dad may not have it from either side. Secondly, you get involved in a relationship. Well, before I ask that question, before I go into this, I have another question to ask you. You define for me what love is. I want to ask everyone in the room, what is more important, love or respect? And I'm asking everybody, what's more important, love or respect?
Define the context, sorry. Like in what context, love or...
Love is love. You've already defined what love is.
Parents, respect your parents.
We're talking about you and the person that you're with.
Oh, the person that you're with. Oh.
We're talking about, because where's the love? We're talking about relationships.
Respect more important because love grows out of that.
Okay? Yes?
They're not mutually exclusive, respect is part of it.
Respect is a part of love. Okay? Anybody else that I haven't heard from? Yes?
But you can't love if you haven't got the respect first, can you?
Okay. Anyone else? Good points. I guess you guys all agree with them? Or you don't want to say anything? Okay. Fine. We're going to come back to that, to both the definition of love, it's just your respect and love. Second situation, when you get into a relationship, you run the risk, because you're on a college campus now. There are a lot of pretty women, a lot of good-looking guys. You're trying to get into a relationship that is outside of marriage, and this is what we're talking about. It's like shooting dice. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't realize what's going to happen. You're going to get with a person, and you might feel good. You know, you're with Brother Zayd. Zayd is smart, he's intelligent, handsome guy. You know, I like his clothes. He's witty, he makes me laugh. He says all the right things. He passes me, you know, candy from time to time. Got a nice little thing going on with Brother Zayd. You're on the phone, texting, Facebook, but you always send the messages, you can't put it on the page, right? You can't put it on the wall. You gotta send a message, because everybody will read it. Right? Sending pokes, tweeting. Nice little setup, you and Zayd. When you're walking across the campus, he sees you, you see him, you got your books, and you look over and keep going, and he walks over, keeps it going, nobody knows what's going on, right? Zay tells you, he uses the words, I love you. Oh, your heart is gone. That is your man. Oh, he loves me. We've had conversations about life and when we get married and how we're going to have children and what we're going to do with the kids and how we're going to travel together and how we're going to, get up in the morning and make our fajr to prayer together and how we'll take the turns making the wudu and you're looking at each other and smiling and all these wonderful things that you guys are doing together and you're just so enamored and he told you he loved you. Oh, that's my man. And then you go over to the student center. And Zayd is talking to Sister Aisha. Smiling the way he smiles at you. Looking at her the way he looks at you. And then he tries to justify why he was talking to Aisha. Oh, we have a same class together. I just needed some notes. You don't have the same class. What class is that? I know your whole schedule. What class did you guys Then eventually Zay comes to you and says, I don't think it's going to work out. Oh, man. Wait, what do you mean it's not going to work? We're no longer a couple? We're no longer together? No, we're not. And chances are he'll tweet this to you. It'll be on your Facebook message. And then after the note, you recognize that you're no longer a friend on Facebook. He's cut you off. Same thing with the guys. You get all wrapped up in this girl. She's beautiful. Probably the most beautiful woman you've ever had in your life. You've probably never had a woman in your life. Beautiful woman. You watch the way she walks. Beautiful. Sexy. Like the way she dresses. Look at those boots. Intelligent, strong, just the kind of woman you wanted. The kind of woman you were looking for. Right? Knows a little bit about Deen. You're like, wow, mashallah. But she seems balanced because she's at least willing to deal with you. When you guys are in the student center or the library trying to study, you're just looking over at her thinking, it's going to be my wife. It's going to be the next Mrs. Khan. That's what you're thinking. You're all set. And one day, you call, she can't take your call. You call, she answers the phone, she says, look, I'm busy right now. Is it really? I mean, because usually when she was busy, she'd just click over and tell whoever to read it and talk to you later and come right and talk to me. Doesn't seem to have time for you anymore. And you wonder where she is. And then finally, you get this message that she'll come to you and tell you, I just feel like, and I'm looking at you and I'm thinking about where we are right now. And I just kind of look at you as my brother. Worst thing a man could ever hear. Brother? Yeah, you're fun, you're interesting, but you're just like my brother. I just think we should just be friends. I'm sorry. But what did I do? No, it's not you, it's me. But honestly, yesterday we were so great, and we were saying on tweet that we were going to do this and that and the other, and we were talking on the phone, and what happened? She just lost interest because she's off with Brother Saeed. He's a footballer, a little more exciting, smart, handsome guy. Student, just a little more exciting, a little bland over here. That's how it goes. You're hurt. You're torn up. Your heart's messed up. Worst case scenario, the guy's like, oh, this is not over. Now, sisters, you got a stalker. He's everywhere. Waiting for you to come out of class. He misses his class to make sure you go into class and see who you're sitting next to. I need to know. If he didn't know about Brother Saeed, he needs to know what's going on. Who's she talking to? There's got to be somebody else. You know? He starts trying to hack into your Facebook, to your email, trying to find out who you're getting with. Who are you communicating with? I need to know. Right? You got a cyber stalker. And this is what gets created. And then these kind of things can lead to worse things. I don't need to go into those things. But these are the realities of relationships at this level. At this level. Because there's another level once you get out of the university. The world is a lot bigger. You know, when I was in university, I was what we called BMOC, big man on campus. I was one of them. And then after the university was over and I got into the real world, the world was a lot bigger. I just became a little fish in the big ocean. The world is a lot different. Here, the world is contained, it's controlled, you know, and everybody kind of knows everybody to a degree. You're familiar with one another. The world is different. So again, we're talking about things at this level. So when you talk about these relationships, and the way that when you start engaging and mixing and mingling and things like this, I'm going to be very honest with you. You start mixing and mingling, you are kind of setting yourself up. It's almost like you're kind of putting yourself out there. It's almost as if you're advertising. Some of you don't think of it that way, but that's what's happening. Just from a male standpoint, when the women start hanging out, I'm like, okay, great. So she's willing to hang out. That means she's approachable. And if she's approachable, then I can go over there and I can start talking to her. And the thing is, I'm not going to come direct and say, hey, you know, I like you. You know, can we hang out? Can we go get some coffee? You know, can we get some tea or something like this? You know, can we set up some study groups? No. What I'm going to do, I'm going to just invoke a little conversation. I want to just be able to know that, I want to see how far the rabbit hole really is. I want to see how deep it goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a conversation with you. I'm going to get to know you a little bit. Every little chance I get so that I know that so one, I'm building up a rapport with you. I'm getting closer to you. When I see you across the campus, hey, how you doing? MashaAllah, assalamu alaikum, I can smile and keep going. Smile. Oh, she smiled back. Yeah. Good. I'm working this nicely. I'm going to take my time. Unless, of course, you say or do something that indicates I can go further faster. And now, if it seems like the door is open, then I'm going to say, hey, well, can we get together and maybe study? I know you've had some problems in this class. I have this class. I'm pretty good at it. Can I help you? Or I'm going to play the weak role. Oh, I'm hurt. I don't understand this stuff. Could you help me, please? I mean, I've talked to some of the brothers. They can't help. But you seem to know this stuff well. Can you help me out? And next thing you know, we're over here and we're studying together. And that's how it all begins. That's where it begins and just goes from there. Unless, of course, you just don't find me attractive. But even then, I try to get you with my mind, or I start telling you jokes to make you laugh. There's always going to be something. I'll be honest, when I was in college, I used to wonder, why is it some of the ugliest guys got some of the prettiest women? And I said, I've got to figure this out. I'm not a drop-dead gorgeous guy, but I'm not ugly. I mean, I'm not hard on the eyes. Right? So I understand why a brother like myself can't find someone. So I used to spend a lot of time reading magazines trying to figure it out. And the answer came down to, well, the men made me laugh. The men were the ones who were bold enough, these ugly guys were bold enough to talk to these women. Because they were so pretty, men didn't want to talk to them because they were intimidated. But these ugly guys, I guess they felt I had nothing to lose, so they went for it. Right? And they started getting these women. But the one key thing was that they made them laugh. They had personality. So I decided to change my personality so that I could make these kind of moves. And the game has not changed. The point is, and I'm making is that when you start intermingling like this, you set yourself up. Brothers are on the prowl. And then some of us sitting there trying not to laugh because they know I'm telling the truth. Or they know people who are on the prowl. But in the Islamic context, we're looking for wives. Sisters looking for husbands. But it all starts out with a relationship that you guys are going to carry for a year, 2 years, before you even start even talking about serious marriage. So now I have to ask the question, where is the love? Because if a man truly loves you, he will not put you in a position for which you are going to invoke or enact or engage in some kind of action, just even being alone, because this type of action he will not place you in that's going to cause you to be found within the hatred, displeasure, or maybe wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bottom line. We know we're not supposed to. I don't need to go through the rules and regulations because you know them already. Anything that you, honestly, if you feel as though you couldn't be alone with this brother in a room or be in public with this brother in a room, you shouldn't want to be in private with that person in the room. Because why? Allah is always watching. If you couldn't do it in front of your grandmother, your mother, your father, your brother, then why are you doing it in secret? Oh, because I'm afraid of what they'll say. But what about what Allah is seeing? So where's the love? You spent 2-3 hours on the phone at night. You go into class, eyes bloodshot red, because you didn't get much sleep because you were on the phone all night. Or you were IMing. Your telephone bill has gone up because you went over your texting limits. I don't know if that happens here, it does in my country. Because you've been sitting around, clicking and typing and all this stuff all through the night. Oh, you're so funny, oh, you nasty. Spend all your time doing all this mess. And it was great, and it feels good, and it's fun, and it's wonderful, and it makes you feel special, male or female. It makes you feel a little bit more than what you were prior to meeting this person. Because now you've got someone in your life that thinks of you as being special, and it feels good. And when you walk across the campus, your walk is a little bit different. You know it. The way you walk across the campus, your head is a little higher, and your step is a little chipper, and you got your bag, you're moving around a little faster, you're doing the things you like to do because you feel good about yourself because someone else made you feel good. And you don't want to give up that little fix. Especially when it came from someone that you cared about. Someone that you had a heart yearning for. Someone you began to feel deeper affection for. This person has got your heart. But the heart should be with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Recognizing that you're always being watched. So now, where is the love? Where is the love for your Lord? If this person winds up marrying you, if that is the case, don't you want to have something that's based on a proper foundation so that a stronger sense of love can be developed? Because what we're calling love, mashallah, from a humanistic standpoint, is love. But that same type of love has to be developed, and it has to be based upon your love for your Lord. Bottom line. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for failure. Now, I ask, which is more important, respect or love? And as the sister placed it, respect. You can't love someone that you don't respect. And respect is something that is developed by knowing someone. And we like to say respect is earned. Well, it's earned when you get to know how a person is. And it's based upon how that person handles themselves in certain situations, in terms of the intellectual development of that person, the level that they're at, spiritually and otherwise. There are different reasons why we find respect for for each other is what I want to say. But the one thing that we have to maintain or understand is that if there's no respect for the self, then how can you expect someone else to respect you? And yeah, I'm kind of directing brothers and sisters because to me, you guys are the foundation. You guys really set the tone for everything. And I believe that wholeheartedly. You know, we say that, we have a saying that you can tell the character of a man, or you can tell you can tell the content of a country by the character of its women. Because if the women are strong, the men have to be strong. If you got weak, loose women, then you have weak, loose-minded men. I'm sure you all heard the old statement that behind every good man is a good woman. Well, that's absolutely true. In Yemen, there's the grave of one wali. They say this man became a wali because one day he was walking around, he had a wife, and she was terrible. I mean, treated him bad, talked about him, abused him verbally all the time. One day he's walking down the street and he was thinking, I'm getting rid of this woman. Divorcing her, that's it. Can't take it. And as he was walking, he heard two men talking. And these two men were saying, my wife stinks, I can't stand my wife, this, that, and the other. They said, yeah, but if we could only be like that other guy, because his wife was really bad, but he stays with her anyway. And they were talking about him. And when he heard this, he said, you know what? SubhanAllah. Wow. I'm an example for people. He said, you know what? I'm going to stay in this relationship. And because he stayed in the relationship, his wife came to him and said, I wanted to tell you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has, however, I don't know how, but informed her to tell him that he is now a wali. Because she was basically told to mistreat him because she was acting as a test for him. So how he decided to respond or react to that test was going to determine whether or not he was going to receive wilayah or if he was just going to be, or he was not going to get it, just put it that way. And as we know, or as many of us know, some of us know, that only a wali knows another wali. Hence, his wife was also wali. She was already, as we say, a saint in the English word, or a friend of Allah. But she had to test her husband. In order for her husband to find the same thing, she was sent as a test. The women are the basis. The women, even though my Shaykh used to say that during the month of Ramadan, when women are cooking, make a lot of dhikr. He said that even outside of the month of Ramadan, when you're cooking, do a lot of la ilaha illallah or salams on the Prophet. Why? Because your emotional state goes into the food. And what you put into the food goes into the bellies of everyone else, and that has an effect over their states as well. So think, if you're all mad and stuff, I can't stand him, he makes me sick, I'm tired of his mom and all this other stuff. And you're mad and you put all that anger into the cooking of the food, and then when everybody else eats it, then they're just eating a bunch of anger. But when you're close to Allah and you're a person who does a lot of recitation of Quran, and you're developing your character, and you're trying your best to adhere to the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and you're putting all of that to the cooking, and you're thanking Allah for the fact that you got food and all these good things, all of that goes into the food, and so everyone's eating what? Dhikr and shukr and just a great spiritual state. And it also affects the husband. When that house is nice and clean and stuff like that, he comes in, he looks around, he can't do anything but be happy and feel good. Just like he comes to the house, it's all messed up, kids running around screaming and hollering, he comes in, he just becomes more angry. Likewise, women are no different, brothers. If you keep the house clean, she'll feel pretty good too when you come home, when she comes home. Right? You got the kids that day, she comes home, everybody's asleep or quiet, whatever, she feels great. But again, the point I'm making is that the women are what? The base. And so I'm saying to you, sisters, that when you have respect for yourself, you truly have respect for yourself, you don't have to worry about finding that true love. When you recognize that you are a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that as a result of that, there's a level of respect that you automatically deserve. and the way that you carry yourself says that I deserve this type of respect, then you'll get that kind of respect from the men. You'll get that kind of respect from the men. You know, like in my country, I mean, I think it's everywhere, women like to have long hair. If a woman cuts her hair to a nice short hairstyle, like a little Halle Berry style or whatever, old school Halle Berry, it's different. It's different. Wait a minute, hold on a second. You just cut yourself off from being like everybody else in society. What did you do that for? And what happens is, and I had a woman tell me this, she said to me that, well, since I've broken away from the societal norms, it shows that I have a different level of confidence about myself. It shows that I have a different outlook on life, and I, as the song says, I am not my hair. So now when the men deal with me, they have to deal with me, they have to even approach me in a different way because I'm not like everybody else. And by me cutting my hair shows that I'm not like everybody else. And so now she told me when the men try to approach me, it's more intelligent. They come to me from a more intelligent standpoint. It's because she's showing and emulating, just by the simple cutting of her hair, changing the style of her hair, emulating confidence and saying that I am a woman that deserves respect. To me, the Muslim woman, even when you put the hijab on, it says, I deserve respect. If you're a woman that doesn't wear hijab, the very way you carry yourself, even if you maintain that prophetic characteristic, it says that I deserve respect. And when you emulate that, then these tired, shiftless little brothers out here who like to try and talk to just anybody will have to come to you differently. Wait, we can't just talk to her like that. She's not putting herself out there like that. And so now he's not going to approach you, even if you were in a gathering where people kind of mixing a bit. They're not going to approach you that way because, wait a minute, that's a different sister. You might look for her, not this one. So the respect has to come from you. And as you respect yourselves, then the men have no choice but to respect you and then have to develop themselves because they see you've got a higher standard. And I say this pretty much everywhere I go. If you sisters said, we're not marrying any man, I mean, all the sisters got together and said, look, that's it, standards, it's about standards. I don't want a man who hasn't memorized 3 juices of Quran. Guarantee you these brothers be missing class. Be in the room rocking all day, trying to get that juice. I've got to get married, brother. Come on. You want to play some football? No, got to get married, brother. Got to memorize these 3 juices. Because you set the standard. In my country, the Muslims would get married and divorced. Just like that. Why? Because we don't have standards. Women have forgotten about having standards. One sister told me, I need to make sure I feel secure with my man. I need to know that he's got me financially, he's got me physically, he's got me spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And if he doesn't have all of these things together, I can't even touch him. But you got some women just happy to have a man. And they want to get married and divorced, married, divorced, married, divorced. No standards. But that starts with you. It starts with you, sisters. You want to see where the love is? Well, to me, what's love got to do with it? Another song, right? What's love got to do with it? It's about respect. Again, from a relationship standpoint. It's about respecting yourself and setting those standards, knowing who you are. You are precious. You are just dynamic. The woman is dynamic. You just can't give yourself to just anybody. You can't let just anybody intrude upon you. And brothers, you should recognize how dynamic the women are. I mean, for what it's worth, some women have to deal with so much. I mean, some brothers put their women through so much, but yet they endure. I mean, you wonder, I've seen how some brothers treat their wives, and I wondered, how can she even love this dude still? But she does. I think it's like at the point of insanity sometimes. They just walk out the house, just leave. But they stay. The women are just resilient, and we do put them through a lot. But brothers, we also have to have standards. Can't just marry just anybody. And again, I recognize the fact that culturally, many of you may not have a say in who you get married to. But at least trying to impress upon your family the standards that you have, both male and female. Place upon your family the standards that you have. Because it's not about just getting married just for communal issues. This is about your life. This is about your heart. This is about your soul. You need to have a partner. Your relationship is about partnership. There's a reason why we say that when a Muslim gets married or individuals get married, they become whole. Or we say that getting married is what half your deen. Because when you come together, you become whole. That wholeness means that there's a partnership that's going on. There's a partnership that needs to be developed. We shouldn't be trying to break our women down. We shouldn't be trying to stunt their growth emotionally, spiritually, academically, even financially. Some brothers I know don't have the fortitude to allow their women to work because they're afraid of losing control. Well, if you're a real man, you'll always have that. Your wife will give you that. But again, like the sister said, it's about respect. She has to respect you to give that to you. If she doesn't have respect for you, then don't expect to get it. If you're not doing everything that you need to do to make sure your home is taken care of, how do you expect her to respect you? You might hear your wife tell you to shut up a couple times. You might try and get mad. Well, do you tell me to shut up and want to slap her around? But at the end of the day, that still shows your weakness. But the fact that you had to get physical shows that you are a weak man. Because she pointed out one of your deficiencies and you didn't like it. So you have no way to come back by articulating it or by physically getting out there and changing your life around so she has nothing to talk about. You try to lash out. One thing every brother should think about, and something I thought about before I got married. One of the things, I saw a friend of mine. He was one of those ugly dudes. I can say that because you don't know who he is. And he got this beautiful sister. Oh my God, I couldn't believe it. I was like, how could he get that, you know? And I went to the walima, and they were just so happy, and she was just so happy and everything. But this guy didn't really have a serious job. You know, he used to sell oils, you know, fragrances and women's jewelry on the street, right? He did have a farm. He did slaughter animals. You know, there's money in being a butcher. But he didn't open a proper shop. He was just slaughtering animals every now and then. But anyways, one day at Jumar, he had a table set up to sell some of his goods, and his wife was sitting at the table while he was in the masjid. And I saw her face, and you could see the look on her face. It was, what have I done? What was I thinking getting married to this guy? You could see the anger in her face. And I said to myself, my woman will never look at me like that, in public or in private. Never. Why? Because I wanted to make sure that I did everything I possibly could to make sure that my woman is happy. And that's the important thing. If you truly love the one person you're with, then you do everything you can to make them happy. But again, where's the love? Where's the love, again, when it comes to dealing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We have to remember that Allah is the one who allowed you to even be on this campus. Allah is the one who's allowed you to breathe today, to get up today, to get dressed today, to come here today. He's given you so much. How much thanks have you been giving to him? You know, what's really funny is when you meet somebody, again, at this level, and you think this person is the one, then you want to turn around and make dua to Allah. Oh, Allah, please bless me with this person. Please let me get married with this person. Please, oh Allah, please. Don't let them leave me, oh Allah, I'll die. You know, you're talking to Allah, and then the situation's not even halal to begin with. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of a specific person that I know who's done that. And they just want to, oh, Allah, I just have to have this person, then wind up not getting them. And they said, Jamal, how come I didn't get this person? Because you didn't start out right. You didn't start out right. You turn to Allah once you were already engaged in a situation that wasn't founded on loving Allah to begin with. There has to be love for your Lord, which means there has to be a sense of obedience to Allah. And once you have that sense of obedience to Allah, then everything that you do should rise from that. If the brother's serious, sisters about talking to you, then hand him a sheet of paper and say, here's my father's phone number, give him a call. This is my brother's phone number, send him a text. If you're serious about this, then let's get busy. The right way. We don't need to be sneaking around, you know, meeting up at the club, meeting up at the Dixie Chicken, meeting up over at the student center. And I've seen, as we were driving around, I saw a lot of corridors. And I'm looking at each one of them. Okay, what's going on in these places? You know what I mean? Meeting up in some corner in the dark. Oh, I love you too. No. Recognize and remember that you and all of us, everybody in this room, is a servant of God. And within that servitude, there are certain things that we have to do to make sure that we're always finding ourselves within the love and the pleasure of our Lord, the one that we're serving. And even our relationships are an act of worship. If you can't say that your relationship is an act of worship, then it's a relationship you probably don't need to be in. Or you shouldn't be in. And don't need to be. You should not be in. Because if we're saying marriage as what half the religion, meaning one becomes whole as a servant to Allah, then that also institutes that marriage in and of itself is an act of worship. Now, if your relationship cannot be defined as an act of worship, then it is the wrong relationship for you. Period. And I can't respect you. I mean, we've already started on the wrong foot, so where is respect? There is no respect. My love for you is temporal. I just love you for right now. Because when you get into these little boyfriend-girlfriend relationships, right, no one's thinking about getting married except maybe one person out the group. Usually when you get in these relationships, your thought is just for the now. You're thinking about how close you could possibly get. You're thinking about, let's be honest, we're all adults here, right? You're thinking about how you can get into those, or you're thinking about sex. That's what you're thinking about. And if you are able to accomplish that goal, then there really is no love. Let's just be honest. For most men, once you've attempted and you've gotten what you wanted, you're out the door. You're out the door. I was just saying to another group of students in Damascus, there was a sister, Muslim, yes, but she was hanging out with a lot of guys, also Muslim, but she was hanging out, and then one guy out of the group, her little crew, she really liked. She hung out with this guy all the time. Eventually, it led to them having sex. Well, they had sex, and then after it was over, she's thinking, well, come on now, you're taking virginity, it's time for marriage. And so she asked him about a couple of months later, when are we going to get married? He said, marriage? I want to marry a virgin. She was like, hold on a second, wait. I was a virgin. Yeah, but you're not now. But you did this. You did that. So you let me do it. I'm not interested in you. And he left it just like that. Heartbroken, crushed. And you know, when a woman's virginity has been taken, her bond with that individual has become increased. Now she's really shattered. But, alhamdulillah, as a result, she decided, you know what, my life has got to turn around. She became a very religious woman, started practicing deen a lot differently, a lot more intensely. And now she goes around giving dawah to women, telling them about the effects of mixing and mingling. And that's deep. That's a deep situation, but it's real. I'm not about the flowery talks anymore. I'm about talking about what is real. So I apologize if I've offended anybody. But this is a real situation that has real consequences. And we have to be very realistic in our conversation with this subject. A man is taking something like that away from you, there's no respect. There was no respect when you first started this thing. So, as she said, if there's no respect, there can't be any love. Or you could be in love with what you thought was love, but then as soon as you start losing respect for that person, there is no more love. It dies out. And then that's when you start saying, no, maybe we should just be friends. It's a real situation that we have to be very cognizant of. You have to really think. First and foremost, who am I? You know what I'm saying? I'm a servant of Allah. My name is Jamal. And I'm a human being. I'm a human being that has choices. I'm a human being that made the choice to be a Muslim. I'm a human being that made the choice to be Muslim, and that meant that I had to follow certain tenets of faith. There are certain ordinances that Allah has placed upon His servants that we need to try to adhere to. So I do love Allah. I do care about Allah. I do care about my hereafter. I want to be with Allah. I want to be with Allah more than I want to be with my own wife. I want to be with Allah more than I want to be with my own children. I want to be with Allah more than I want to be around my friends and all these people. So if I want to be with Allah, what do I need to do to get there? Well, what do I need to do is to develop my devotional acts of worship. And that doesn't just mean the salat and the psalm and fasting and the hajj and all that. It means developing my character. It means developing my perception of the world, my perception of reality, my perception of how we interact as human beings. And looking for all the pitfalls and all the traps of this dunya, of this material life, of this life built upon status and so-called delusional power. I have to look at myself in the scope of how the world is viewing itself and how society is developing and how society is also being torn down. Because it's all right there in front of you. It's all right there in front of you. Watching people rise and fall. You know, sometimes, I do watch TV. I spend a little time watching a show called Beef, about rappers and how they have beef between each other. And watching how these guys rise to fame and fortune and how they fall and how they rap against each other and all this stuff. And then one guy winds up shooting somebody else, and guess what? It's all gone. I'm like, these are grown men fighting over nothing. If I'm wealthy, I'm not trying to affect my wealth. But these are fools. I'm watching stars come up in the movies, watching True Hollywood is the name of the show. And it talks about the lives of famous people, how they rose and how they fall. That's the reality. You're not going to be on top forever. Rome's still not around like it used to be. Hey, even this country lost its empire. America's trying, but it's losing. Looking at the reality of this life is what I'm saying to you. Looking at yourself and where you are in the world. And having respect and confidence with what and who you are. so that you can find the right kind of love, the love that you want, based upon a deeper love. My heart should be yearning for Allah. My deep affection should be found within every act of worship that I do, to find that nearness to my Lord. So that when the person whom I bring into my fold, into my life, into my world, is going to have the same base principles and that same longing and yearning that I have for Allah. So that when we are together, our love is based on a deeper foundation that's going to allow us to grow and to go beyond the limits of this humanistic love. We'll take on a cosmic love. I don't know what's called galactic love. We'll take our love where no man has ever gone before, with love. That's what you should be looking for. Love that's based on tranquility. One you can openly have and not have to hide. And to be sneaky. Alhamdulillah. I want to thank you again for having me today. And I hope there's been some benefit here. As I say, I don't like the academic talk. I like to just be real with you. I like to look, I hope that, I wasn't preachy about anything, because that's not my intention. I like to look at myself as just the older brother that you never had. Giving you advice, because I'm concerned about all of you. I do have a concern for all you, and that's why I'm here. I didn't just come here just to talk, to hear myself talk, to get on video or maybe pictures and all this stuff. Because I have a concern. And I'd like for all of you to really respect yourselves and grow within the love that is going to take you farther. A love that's going to be eternal. That's what I'd like for all of you to have and to grow with. And I hope that, again, there's been some benefit. Please keep me in your dua. May Allah continue to guide all of you. May Allah make your time here easy. May He make all your studies easy. May He allow all of you to be models of what true connection to Allah is. May He make all of you models as to what good students are. If you ever look in the Cambridge dictionary under student, your picture will be seen, because you are that model student. May Allah bless all of you to be stronger servants. May you all be cognizant and conscious students, filled with reverence and love and respect for your Lord. May He make firm your feet on the Sirat al-Mustaqim. May He allow you to go on to be very fruitful in your lives. May Allah bless you all to be benefits to your family and to your communities. May all of you become benefits to yourselves. May Allah bless you all to have a beautiful ending. And may He bless you all ultimately with paradise. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, Ya Arhamar Rahimin. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I think if there are questions, feel free to